Welcome, everyone, to the Saturday NBA Hardwood Show. I am Meg, and I am, of course, joined by my guys, Glock and Gary. And we are here to break down tonight's 6-game NBA slate. We've got a busy day. We've got wild NFL wild cards. We've got a full 6-game NBA slate. We've been in the best ball streets for playoffs, so we're busy, but we are super excited to break down this slate for you guys. So before we get started, of course, give us a like this episode. And, as we're going along here, leave us comments and questions so that these guys can help answer your questions for tonight. But let me go to my guys first before we go game by game. Glock, how are you doing tonight? You ready to talk a little NBA? And if you see anything going on in the first playoff game, let me know.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, a lot going on for sure. MMA locked 50 minutes ago.
Oh, wow.
NFL locked, 30 minutes after that. So yeah, it's been a jam-packed morning. Obviously, I love MMA. I got that on the side, got the NFL playoff game on the side as well. So, and then we're going to obviously break down the 6-game slate for you all. But yeah, lots going on. Obviously, try to jam in as many best ball drafts as I could. Those are super addicting, by the way.
It is so addicting. So
next
fun.
year, if you guys, I just think it's a little more addicting because it takes a little less time, right? I know on DraftKings,
yeah, the 10 round was nice.
They still did the 20 rounds, which is a little insane.
That was weird.
Which is why I kind of avoided that site. But on Underdog, it's only 10 rounds, six people in the group. So those drafts were a lot of fun, and yeah, hoping it gets started on the right foot today, and with all the good players that we need, and we can get some run pure people in those best ball finals, and obviously the 2-game slate today as well. So yeah,
of course,
super excited.
Of course, absolutely. All right, Gary, how are you doing today? You ready to talk NBA? I know you're probably keeping an eye on NFL too, but how's it going?
Yeah, doing pretty good. Like y'all said before, it's been a busy day of DFS. I think it's the second weekend without college football though. Mm-hmm. But we got all the other sports back here this weekend. A lot of best ball mania going around after title taking down the 250K.
Absolutely.
And the regular season, I think you saw a lot more players load up on some best balls this week, knowing that, hey, RPS guy, we do the best ball streets too.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, we just give you everything. It's one price, man. I don't know what everybody's thinking.
Exactly.
Just need to join us. And we're going to print tonight in NBA too.
Exactly. And exactly. Of course, if you are a Run Pure subscriber, you know that you get so much content in all the different sports like Gary was talking about. But I mean, there's heat maps, there's core plays, you've got the Discord. There's so many tools at your disposal. So if you're not a member yet, I highly recommend joining. But we're happy you're here, and we're happy to break this down. But of course, if you are a member, check the Discord later, check the core plays later, because, everything will be moving, pieces based on injury news. But that's what we're here to kind of talk about game by game. And so we're going to get that started here. Let's go to the first game. We've got the Celtics are favored by 8, and they are at the Charlotte Hornets. So I'll go over to you first, Gary. What are you thinking for this game? Who do you like in this game?
Yeah, so I think we just got news that Brogdon's going to play. So that's a good piece of information. So it looks like Boston's pretty much a full go here going into Charlotte. Definitely a matchup to exploit here. I know AP he put together that flow chart on the site, and this is the number one flow chart play of the day. Centers against Charlotte just absolutely smash. So Robert Williams, Al Horford, both of them should be able to have a decent game here. So, and Marcus Smart with Jason Tatum out, he went off. I think he had 40 DraftKings points in the last game. Well, not Tatum, but Jaylen Brown. Sorry. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so those three would be my primary focus here on the Boston side. And I don't really think I want to mess with anybody on the Charlotte side, although I will say who is Mason Plumlee. I mean, he has been balling recently. I can't get to him on probably either site, just with the other centers that we have in play. We have a couple flow chart plays on this slate. So I'll probably be staying away from Charlotte on this slate and just focusing on the Time Lord, Al Horford, Marcus Smart, and of course Jason Tatum's always in play. So he's probably one of the top spins on the slate in this high total game. So yeah, definitely on Boston side, not so much on the Charlotte side for me.
Okay. I know we had some big center plays last night. Glock, are you kind of in line with Gary, more interested on the Boston side? And who else do you like tonight in this game?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, like when Gary mentions the flow chart, it's kind of a thing we recently added into RPS. Gary used to call it flow chart. It's kind of another name for defense versus position. So it's kind of a chart that tells you like the top 5 guards, centers, forwards, against each specific team and where their weaknesses is. So I think that's a really cool thing we added this year. And yeah, if you followed us, for these past 2 years, it feels like we've been targeting bigs versus Charlotte. They're very suspect down there. I will say I do prefer Time Lord Robert Williams over Al Horford. I feel like every time I watch Boston, Al Horford is like just sitting in the corner, waiting for the 3 ball while, Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum just play ISO ball. And, obviously Time Lord is a way different big than that. He plays more like a prototypical big nowadays. So I do prefer Time Lord over Al Horford if choosing a big from Boston. And yeah, I think Jason Tatum, obviously, Gary mentioned it, one of the best spends on the slate. He did have a really, really bad game last time out. I mean, it wasn't a really bad game. They beat Brooklyn, but it wasn't good for DFS purposes. So I think this is a prime flop-like spot for Jason Tatum for sure. And yeah, I mean, you got guys like Grant Williams. He should play all the minutes that he can handle. I'm never thrilled clicking on his name, but obviously he's somewhat cheap and he's popping somewhat right now in the Opto. So I don't mind Grant Williams. Obviously Marcus Smart will have a lot more opportunity with Jaylen Brown out. He crushed last game and he's still a relatively, fair price tag for what the upside that he has. So I like Marcus Smart as well. And then, yeah, on the Charlotte side, I do have less interest. Obviously you can always consider someone like LaMelo Ball in tournaments. I think he's, triple double upside. It feels like Charlotte's playing these guys like no matter what the game script is. So that's always a plus, right? Right. Even if they're down 20, they're going to put in their main guys. Like I've seen them check in LaMelo Ball, Mason Plumlee down like 20, 30 points. So that's always something you love for sure when it comes to DFS. So I don't love the Charlotte side, but I definitely think you can consider it for sure. Like I said, they do have high minute ceilings, it seems. And, the Hornets, they're just going to let their guys develop. So this is definitely a solid game to start off your slate for sure. But I do think my favorites are on the Boston side for sure.
Okay. Before we get to our next game, Spencer Smith said in chat, CMC touchdown. Glock, can you confirm?
I can confirm. That's really good for best ball. That's really good. You get the Brock Purdy and CMC. Sometimes people
and he ran for CMC ran for like 68 yards to get him down there.
His first touch was 68 yards. Yeah.
All right. Nice. Well, I like it. I like it for DFS betting best ball. Good start to the day then. Okay. Let's keep that good mojo going and go into our second game, which is the Memphis Grizzlies, are favored by 8.5, heading to play at the Indiana Pacers. Total is 239. Last night we were able to take advantage of a lot of injury news on the Pacers side. I know I listened to the Up to Lock show, and thank you to Big T at JSU Holden for, their calls about loading up on the Pacers, because I did. And I, really profited on last night's NBA slate thanks to doing that. So is that what we do here again, Gary? And who are your favorite targets?
Yeah, so I think we're still waiting on some pretty big news here on the Indy side.
Okay.
O'Shea Brissett, Aaron Nesmith, and Miles Turner all questionable. Nesmith and Turner missed last night, which, if Turner misses, we're going to go back to Isaiah Jackson. He had 7 blocks last night. Tougher matchup here against Steven Adams, but he's still min price on DraftKings. I mean, he would be an incredible value, but we just kind of wait. We got to kind of wait on that news. But Halliburton's still out. So last night it was Benny Mathurin who tore up the slate. Nembhard kind of disappointed a little bit. Nembhard was my favorite play outside of Isaiah Jackson last night.
Right.
And he kind of let me, I mean, he still got there, but I was expecting a little bit more. Mathurin took the lead.
He didn't have the fire symbol.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of stayed away from Buddy Hield too. May have been a mistake on my part last night. But I'm just never really a Buddy Hield person. I know we got 40 DK last night. And 40 DK, we will definitely take that at 6,300. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to X him out of my pool. But I'm going to focus here on Nembhard, Mathurin, even TJ McConnell. TJ McConnell is going to play big minutes off the bench with Halliburton out. And he crushed last night too. Mm-hmm. So I definitely like him, and he will be like a fraction of the ownership of Nembhard and Mathurin here. But yeah, if the lineup is the same from last night, I'm staying away from Duarte again. I don't like. I'm never really a Duarte guy. Not going to start today. So yeah, just basically the backcourt for Indy for now. We got to wait on the news on Miles Turner. And on the Memphis side, I mean, this is an excellent spot for them, this team. Especially, I think my favorite play on the Memphis side is Steven Adams here. Mm-hmm. He's 6,100 going against Indy. Does anybody remember what Okongwu did to this Indy team last night? I mean, just put up a monster score, like blocking like all the shots. So, you think of Memphis, you think blocks. Jaren Jackson Jr., he's 7,500. He's priced up quite a bit. He's definitely in play. I think I prefer Steven Adams over him one-on-one. Just for the the $1,400 price difference is huge for me, and I think Steven Adams can get 4 or 5 blocks here as well. So yeah, okay. I don't think I'm going to get to Ja here either.
Okay. Well, as I just posted in the chat, said one of our let's see, Straight Cash Homie said, watching last night's game, Adams and Jaren Jackson Jr. should get all the rebounds. So kind of goes in line with your Adams call. Thank you for comments. Keep the comments and questions coming. The Glock, do you agree with Gary on kind of your favorite plays from the Pacers side? And then who's your favorite on the Memphis side?
Yeah, for sure. I do definitely agree with Gary. I mean, this is going to be the prime value spot of the night. And obviously we do still have Q-Tag news to wait on. Like Gary mentioned, Miles Turner's questionable, O'Shea Brissett's questionable, Aaron Nesmith is questionable. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to say like who we like based on that injury news. Obviously if Miles Turner is out, they did start Andrew Nembhard, Buddy Hield, Chris Duarte, Benny Math, and then Isaiah Jackson last night. I don't know if they'll roll with that same lineup tonight. I mean, if you think about it, Memphis does start double big with Jaren Jackson and Steven Adams. So, we'll want to keep an eye out on that starting lineup for sure is basically the point I'm trying to make. Obviously, if Turner's in, I think they can – I would be shocked if they started Aaron Nesmith alongside Miles Turner. That's what they have been doing because they do like that small ball for sure. I would expect more like a Jalen Smith, Miles Turner, kind of what they were doing earlier in the year just to combat the double bigs. But maybe they commit to the bit and just stay small. And if that's the case, yeah, I mean, you're going to want to get exposure to one of Jaren Jackson Jr. or Steven Adams. Before any of this Miles Turner injury, when the Pacers were starting Aaron Nesmith, they were just getting killed by big men. Like Miles Turner is like kind of known for being a block monster, but when you start someone like Aaron Nesmith at the 4 right next to him, you're going to have some holes defensively. So yeah, I definitely have interest in the Memphis bigs. And yeah, obviously Nembhard, he did okay. I mean, he found himself on some optimal lineups last night, but he could have crushed. I mean, he shot 2 of 16. I was somewhat worried going into last night's game with TJ McConnell back in the mix. But after watching last night, it does seem like, Carlisle is cool with playing them both together. It's not like they're 1-for-1 subs. So I think you could totally go back to Andrew Nembhard. Buddy Hield is a guy I don't like much often as well, but he's going to have a ton of usage. Benny Mathurin, obviously, you can go right back to. And then, yeah, based on the injury news of who's available for Indiana, TJ McConnell's triple-double upside off the bench, which is crazy to say, but, man, that guy just gets in there and just starts mowing. So TJ McConnell is definitely in play. Isaiah Jackson's a lock probably if he gets the start.
Right.
And then, yeah, like I said, pay attention to that starting lineup. We really want to know who's in, who's out, and how they deal with this Memphis size. And, yeah, I mean, I think one guy we didn't mention, Ja Morant, obviously you can always consider him for tournaments. He's kind of like LaMelo Ball in the previous game. It does feel to me that his upside did get capped somewhat with Desmond Bane returning. So I don't love him as much as I used to in the past. But yeah, I mean, Ja Morant and then Steven Adams, Jaren Jackson, that would be my focus on the Memphis side. And then just load up on all the Pacers if Miles Turner's out.
Right.
I think he's the main guy I'm keeping a lookout for on the Indiana side. If he's out, I'm fully okay with playing like 3 to 4 Indiana guys. And yeah, definitely pay attention to that starting lineup though.
Well, so let me ask you guys this real quick before we move on to our next game, because I know they kind of did this last night and it certainly helped me. Let's just theoretically say Miles Turner is out and we have a similar starting lineup to last night. I'll go to you first, Glock. Kind of rank the Pacers that you're prioritizing in order, like 1 to 4, 1 to 5, however many.
Yeah. So okay, if Miles Turner gets ruled out, then I want to know what starting lineup they're going to go with, right?
Yeah.
Because if they go with that same lineup where they start Nembhard, Heel, Duarte, Mathurin, Jackson, I think my favorite 3 would be Jackson, Mathurin, and Nembhard.
Okay.
But if they start like they take Chris Duarte out of the lineup and then they start like a Jalen Smith, then Jalen Smith is firmly in play too. Like you could play both the bigs together, right?
Okay.
So I always love playing the starters. Like you don't have to bank on the fact that like, okay, if Jalen Smith is not starting, but he's coming off the bench, like how much run is he actually going to get? If Isaiah Jackson's playing hot, like is he going to take a run away from Smith? I'll always prefer the starters in most scenarios. But yeah, I would handle it as, once we get that starting lineup, that's how I'll determine who is my favorite plays. But from right now, the situation that we have right now, obviously Andrew Nembhard, Benny Mathurin, and then if Miles Turner's out, I'm just going to go right back to Isaiah Jackson.
Okay. Same question for you, Gary. If Miles Turner is out, how would you rank the Pacers?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to smash Isaiah Jackson again at min price. He would probably be my favorite. And then it's the guards for me. I'm not a Jalen Smith guy. I prefer Jalen Smith when he's starting at the 5 instead of the 4. I feel like his production is a lot better, but obviously opportunity and minutes are going to, he could have an off game or, an outlier game where he does well. So he's definitely in the mix, but he's probably my last option for me.
Okay. All right. We're 2 games through. Be sure to, like this episode. And if you have any questions, drop it in the chat. We will get to those later and we'll keep rolling through game by game. Go to the 3rd game, which is the Atlanta Hawks heading to play at the Toronto Raptors. Raptors are favored by 7. Total is 232. Gary, who are you liking in this game?
So this game is a little tough for me on this slate. I'm definitely not going to chase Okongwu's night from last night.
Right.
I just prefer Adams. I prefer Time Lord. I prefer the Indiana center, or if it's Jackson, and even Embiid later. So I'm not going to go back to Okongwu here. And really, I mean, looking at this Atlanta team, I just don't see it on the slate for me. I might just X them all out and
cross
keep them out of my pool.
Yeah.
I know Glock doesn't normally X anybody out of his optimizer, but they just don't seem like good rosters to me on this slate. We're going to have a lot better plays in other spots. And on the Toronto side, it's pretty much the same for me, unless you want to play Pascal Siakam. I like this guy a lot. He's really good. And this is another flowchart play because, centers have been destroying Atlanta since Capella has been out. And Pascal Siakam's a pretty good one. So he is my only interest on Toronto and in this game.
Okay. Sounds good. Glock, are you kind of in line with that, or do you have more interest in this game?
I actually have a lot of interest in Okongwu.
Okay.
And it may be a surprise, but Toronto has been getting smashed by bigs recently, surprisingly. They're a team that you wouldn't expect it, but I dug into this a little bit earlier today. Here's their last 6 centers who faced Toronto's and their stat lines. Mason Plumlee, 16 points, 15 rebounds. The game before that, 21.7 rebounds. Nurkic, 14 points, 18 rebounds. Mitch Robb, 10 points, 18 rebounds. Brook Lopez, 9 points, 19 rebounds. Miles Turner, 18 points, 10 rebounds. And this goes way back. That's only 6 centers who last faced Toronto. And Okongwu fits this bill. There's not a stretch 5 out there. These are all bruisers, right? Mason Plumlee, Yusuf Nurkic, Mitch Robb, Brook Lopez, Miles Turner. They're kind of bigger centers. And I think Okongwu fits the bill. So I have a lot of interest in Okongwu for sure at low ownership. And then, on the rest of Atlanta, Bogdanovic, I believe, is still questionable. So that's something to keep an eye out for. But I don't know. I think this game is mostly a focus for me, like for tournament pivots, like Gary said. Obviously, you can always consider Pascal Siakam on the Toronto side. Fred VanVleet, he has random like pop-off games, but I don't know if you guys have listened, but he was on JJ Redick's podcast recently, and he admitted that his role is a lot more different this year than years previous. Like last year, he was just going off. Like if he was 8K, he was an auto lock, just getting you 50 fantasy points easily. But he talked about how he's playing more off the ball this year, while Siakam is getting more of the playmaking opportunities, and he's handling the rock. So, and you see that in the fantasy production, right? Like Siakam is the one that goes off more often than not. Fred VanVleet, he talked about on the podcast where like he won't touch the ball for the entire game, and then he gets a big shot at the end and he misses it, and he feels bad, but he's like not in rhythm, right? When he's handling the rock, like last year, he was able to just play in rhythm, free flow. He was handling the rock in a good flow, and he had his confidence, and now he's somewhat trying to adapt to different roles. So Siakam would definitely be my preference on Toronto side. I know Scotty Barnes is like hovering near price where like he's popping a lot and he's coming with ownership. I mean, I think he's fine. Like him and Gary Trent are fine lasting type of plays, but definitely not in love with this game. I think just, a one-off here or there to scatter your lineups is good. And then, obviously if you consider a guy like Pascal Siakam, Trae Young, Fred VanVleet, those guys would just be like tournament pivots essentially.
Okay. All right. Well, let's head over to our fourth game. We have the Cleveland Cavaliers at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Cleveland is favored by 4.5. Total is 224.5. So, Gary, who are you targeting in this game, or do you have much interest in this game?
So this is another game that I'm not really thrilled with on this slate. Like I said, I love the first two games. I love a later game. A couple later spots. So I'm just going to be underweight on this game as a whole. But on the Cleveland side, it would probably be Jared Allen for me. 6K on DraftKings. It's centers though. I mean, I just don't know how many. I love a couple of the centers, and Glock may have just talked me up back onto Okongwu a little bit. So I just don't know. Maybe Evan Mobley's fine, 6,400. Maybe I'll go that route since he has power forward eligibility. Leave him in my pool, and Donovan Mitchell 9,600. Man, I just can't do it. I know he went off for 100 fantasy points last week, but I can't do it on this slate. Garland for me, 7,600. That's priced about right. I mean, that's right around 5x. So he's a okay option. I just don't know how much I'll get to him on this slate. And outside of those four, I wouldn't even consider anybody on the Cleveland side, to be honest. All the production's coming from those four guys. So, yeah. And on the Minnesota side, maybe some Taurean Prince. He's playing a little bit of minutes, 3,200. He's popping a little bit in projections. I mean, if you need a 3,200 guy, he would be it. I'm not going to force him in. I'll probably bump his projection actually down like a point and see how much I get. I won't take him out of the pool completely. And Edwards, 9K. He's got like a bum ankle or a knee or something going on right now. I'm not going to touch him on this slate. And probably, I mean, like I said, I don't have much, if at all, any interest in this game. All
right. Glock, do you have any interest in this game?
Yeah. So if everyone's in, I definitely, I'm going to treat this like the Atlanta-Toronto game that we just broke down. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Edwards on both sides, Darius Garland. You can always consider them for tournaments. But one thing to mention is that they do have Q tags. So that's something to keep an eye out for. Obviously, if Donovan Mitchell were to miss, a guy like Darius Garland becomes a lot better play. He has been pretty disappointing in spots, I feel like, that Donnie Mitch has been out. So it wouldn't be like he's like a super smash play, but his role does increase for sure if Donnie Mitch is out. And then obviously if Anthony Edwards is out, you get bumps on a guy like Jalen Noel, D'Angelo Russell, Rudy Gobert even gets a little bit of a bump probably because because you just don't have a guy like Edwards in the lineup anymore. So a lot of my interest, I think, in this game really depends on the news. Otherwise, I'll probably stay away from the Mobley Allen roulette game. I feel like, someone in the chat said Mobley can smash. I mean, yeah, anyone can smash. Mobley can smash. Allen can smash. It's just like, are you willing to take the shot that it happens? And I feel like those guys take turns more often than not going off, and it's probably just a situation I would avoid. I'll rather just take the surefire shot that, in Atlanta, like we mentioned previously, Onyeka Okongwu was by himself at the center position, no one else to really worry about. So I'll probably stay away from that situation. And then, I wrote it on the playbook. It's probably my least favorite game on the slate, unless there's some surprising injury news. So if Ant's in, Donnie Mitch is in, I'll probably stay away. Otherwise, I'll rethink if one of those guys are out, because there will probably be some value that emerges if either's out, and lineup construction will look a lot different as well. So probably just staying away for now.
Okay. And of course, yes, everybody needs to pay attention to injury news. Of course, if you're an RPS subscriber, check in the Discord to get updates. And of course, check everybody's core plays later closer to lock. And that'll help as injury news becomes more clear.
Kenneth Walker touchdown.
Oh, I do not have
7 to 10 right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for the update. We do, we're right at that, 3 or 4 games, 2 games left. It was a good time for an NFL game break. So you're our game break update. So I appreciate it, Glock. Thank you. Don't love that it was
K9,
news.
Yeah,
because I don't have much of him anywhere, but that's okay. We'll keep moving on. We've got 201 watching. So, we'd really appreciate hit the like button. You'll get these guys plays of the day after we go through 2 more games, and start getting questions in chat. We'll go through those as well. So 2 more games. Let's head over to the next one. We got the Philadelphia 76ers heading to play at Utah Jazz. Sixers are favored by 5. Total is 235. Gary, I know you kind of mentioned Embiid earlier. We've got a lot of center plays we're interested. Are you targeting Embiid here? And if so, or who else are you interested in?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love both Embiid and Harden in this matchup. Isn't this the matchup that Embiid put 100 plus up earlier?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was Utah that he put 100 DraftKings points.
Not surprised
on.
either.
And it's another flow chart. I mean, we've been targeting centers against Utah all season for the most part. So yeah, on the Philly side, it's really easy for me. I know Tobias Harris is questionable. I'm assuming he's going to play. Niang's also questionable for him. But it's always Joel Embiid and James Harden for me. Harden's been playing really good, 10.1. He's too cheap. I mean, he's too cheap for what he's been doing. I think his projections is even a little low in this spot. So yeah, I like the both of them quite a bit. And on the Jazz side, not too much interest for me. Lauri Markkanen is questionable. I expect he's going to play. But 9,400, I can't pay that price tag. But he is 8,300 on FanDuel, and I really like that price. I played him last night when I was building out my lineups last night on FanDuel. I looked at power forward and I saw that it was 8,300, and he was 9,800 or something on DraftKings. I'm like, I like to kind of target those price gaps between the sites, and I'll probably do the same thing tonight. So on the Utah side, Lauri Markkanen on FanDuel only, because he's 8,300. I like that quite a bit. Malik Beasley, another guy that is an okay play for me, but probably nobody else. Jordan Clarkson's kind of fringe. He's like on the fringe for me. I doubt I get there. So yeah, it's just going to be Lauri Markkanen on FanDuel for me, and then I like Harden and Embiid on both sides.
How about Maxey? Someone in the chat, Christopher Walls, Maxey sneaky GPP play.
I mean, sure. I mean, you can always play him. But Embiid and Harden are just taking up all the usage in this offense. 6,500. I guess it's an okay price tag for him. I'm just not going to get there tonight.
Okay, Glock, what are you thinking for this game?
Yeah, I agree with Gary. Maxey, like, as long as he's playing alongside Harden and Embiid, like, he's always just going to be a GPP play, right? And based on his production, his tag's just probably going to go down until he's like low 6Ks, and then he's going to look good every slate almost because, some people may not want to pay up for Embiid and Harden, and then they just go straight to Maxey. I do think Maxey's a little better if Tobias Harris and Georges Niang are out. But like we said earlier, this is, we have a lot of injury news we're waiting on, and there's a lot of Q tags that can really change the slate. One being here, Tobias Harris and Georges Niang. I wrote at the playbook, and I was like, if Tobias misses, then Niang becomes probably a really strong value play because he may step into that starting spot and become a viable source of value. But Niang is also questionable. So it's like a huge domino effect that we got to keep an eye out for. And then, on the opposite side, Jazz, Lauri Markkanen's questionable. Right now, none of the Jazz pieces look that great. I think if everyone's in on Utah, Malik Beasley's probably my favorite play. What is he? He's 4.6K on DK. And he's been starting. He just hasn't been shooting that well. He is popping a lot right now just because a lot of projection sites have Turner in. So you don't have like those 3K punts necessarily right now that are available to you. So a guy like Malik Beasley, who's not min price, but under 5K, he fits in nicely in those builds. So he would be my favorite. Obviously, if everyone's in for Utah, I think he becomes an even stronger play if Lauri Markkanen's out. He would just chuck constantly. Obviously, Jordan Clarkson, Mike Conley are in play as well if Lauri Markkanen's out. But if Markkanen's in, I think I'll just keep it simple with Malik Beasley. And then, on the other side, it's pretty easy. Like Gary said, Harden or Embiid for me. I think I prefer Embiid just because the way centers generate points, it's obviously a lot easier, got rebounds. And I mean, you can't deny how good James Harden has been playing, right? It feels like projection sites haven't truly caught up to how well he's been. So he's, like Gary said, he's kind of being under projected. So, and he'll be lower owned than Embiid, it looks like right now. So those two definitely in consideration for me. The two studs for Philly, and then obviously Malik Beasley if everyone's in for Utah. But that changes a lot if Lauri Markkanen's out. I think the game changes a lot overall if Lauri Markkanen's out. At that point, it kind of becomes, do you think Utah can keep it competitive? Because Lauri's kind of been the guy keeping this team afloat and carrying them. If he were to miss, obviously they don't have Colin Sexton, they don't have Kelly Olynyk. This game becomes a lot more of a blowout potential for me if Lauri does miss. But like we saw, I think it was like a few slates ago, Harden and Embiid absolutely smashed Detroit in 3 quarters of play. So I wouldn't rule that out either.
All right, let's go get ready to go to our last game. But before we do, give us, hit that like button and drop some questions in the chat because we will get to those right after this last game. The last game, we do have the Dallas Mavericks at the Portland Trailblazers. The Trailblazers are favored by 1.5. Total is 224.5. Glock, I'll go to you first because I've seen a couple questions asking you already about Luka, but is Luka your main target? And who else do you like in this game? Right. Who else, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, right now it's interesting because I'm only seeing Luka like under 20% owned, like 15%-ish owned. And I assume that's because, like I mentioned in the game previous, Miles Turner is still projected in for a lot of projection sites. So you don't have like those strong smash value plays like Isaiah Jackson, O'Shea Brissett. Obviously, it would be a min K, 3K guy that you can go to if Turner's out as well. But yeah, as of now, like obviously, anytime you can get Luka that doesn't come with much ownership, I mean, you can't really deny what he's doing right now and what the Dallas Mavs are doing. Obviously, I'm a Mavs fan, but if you've been paying attention, if the Mavs are in contention against a team they're playing or they're trailing, Jason Kidd will play Luka the entire second half. Like he will not take a break. He'll play the entire third quarter and he'll go into the fourth because right now the Mavs are super thin. They don't have Dorian Finney-Smith. They don't have Josh Green. They don't have Maxi Kleber. And even tonight, Christian Wood is questionable. Just another injury tidbit that we have to pay attention to. Like they're just, they have no depth right now, and J Kidd's just willing to run like sell out for the win. So for DFS purposes, obviously everyone's like 12.8K. This is too expensive for Luka, but man, you get a player that basically plays every minute of the game apart for a little bit of rest at the beginning of the second quarter. I mean, it's hard to turn that up for sure. So yeah, I love Luka a lot tonight. Obviously, if Christian Wood were to miss, I mean, the dude would have to literally do everything.
Right.
Like, I just can't even imagine how like he could go for like 100 tonight, really, if Christian Wood was out. If I would think the Blazers try to trap, obviously, if Christian Wood is out, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, those two guys would be in consideration for me on the Mavs side. Luka, obviously, way further than everyone else. If Seawood misses, I think you can start to actually consider guys like Spencer Dinwiddie and Tim Hardaway Jr. Obviously, that's a lot of usage coming out of the starting lineup, so someone else would have to fill the void for sure. And then, yeah, on the Portland side, another injury tidbit that we have to keep an eye out for, Damian Lillard is questionable. He's been kind of looking a little banged up, but been playing through injury. I would be surprised if he misses again tonight, but if he were, Anthony Simons is like a smash play, right? He's just way too cheap if he'd be the alpha of the offense. But the thing is, this is the island game. And so if you don't have much flexibility, like let's say you have Luka and Dame as your last two spots of your lineup, you're not going to have much flexibility. Like you're going to have to go straight down from Lillard to Simons and leave like $3K on the table. And if you're okay with that, I mean, it's fine, but it's just something that you have to consider when building out your lineup. So yeah, Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons, obviously, if Lillard's out. Yusuf Nurkic, I always have interest in. He's kind of like a prototype that Dallas struggles against, like a big bruiser. So I don't mind him in tournaments either. So yeah, I think this game is a really nice late night hammer. You can get some exposure to it. But like we said, there's a lot of injury news that we have to wait on, and like all littered throughout the slate, it could completely change what we're saying right now. So we just got to really pay attention to the news. Obviously, get in the Discord if you're a member. And we're going to help everyone out through there as the news comes in.
Before I go to you, Gary, there has been a lot in the chat about Turner is out, Nesmith is in. Obviously, need to confirm all that, I assume.
And Brissett is in too.
Okay. So, I
know
Luka's
ownership is rising up for sure now.
Okay.
Now you have like Isaiah Jackson available to you, O'Shea Brissett.
Yes. Right.
I hope they don't start Aaron Nesmith. He's definitely a fade for me if they go back to Nesmith, because I'm pretty sure Nesmith was out last night, right, Gary?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, so if they start him again, which I don't know why they're doing it anyways to begin with, him and Duarte I think would be my least favorite Pacers personally.
Okay. All right. Well, Glock did a great job breaking down that game. Now, Gary, what's your take on that game? Are you prioritizing Luka now that we have some value opening up?
Yeah, Luka's always my top guy on every slate. I'm pretty much like Glock, except I'm a closet Dallas Mavs fan, even though I'm from Virginia.
Right?
I love me some Luka, man. The dude is just incredible. I mean,
he's so fun to watch.
He puts up 70 plus DraftKings points like every night. I mean, I don't think anybody else in the league can do that. I mean, maybe. I mean, Joker hasn't even done it this year.
Gary, we're getting to a point where a triple double is not enough for DFS purposes. Like if you played Luka on the Lakers slate, which was the last slate, he had a triple double, but he didn't have that little flame emoji by him until he hit like that. Until he hit the game tying 3 to get it to overtime. Like we've gotten to a point where a triple double is not enough. Like you need like that 35 to 40 point triple double in order to pay off his tag, and he's still hitting it, which is like incredible.
I mean, he's doing everything for this team. Like you said, he's playing. I mean, what did he play? 52 minutes the other night?
Yeah, it didn't come out. Didn't come out in the second half.
Just absolutely ridiculous. I don't see how you don't play him in this spot. I definitely prefer him over Embiid. There's not even a question on that for me. And I might even on this slate, I might even not even play Embiid and play Harden or something like that. Just make a slight pivot off of a stud. Like I said, Harden's been doing awesome. But anyway, so back to Portland. I don't think I can go here with that news, especially that just hit. I'm just going to focus on the early games, Luka, maybe some Philly, and that'll be it for me. I'm not going to sit around all night waiting for this Dame news. I'm sure he's going to play. He plays through these injuries a lot.
Right.
He's banged up all the time, so I'm just not gonna factor that in my decision. I'm just gonna completely take out all of Portland. And on the Dallas side, I mean, I was gonna say, I mean, we don't know if Wood's gonna be in or not, but I do like Wood in this spot. I don't hate him, but like I said, I'm probably not going to get there. It's going to be Luka or bust for me for this game, and we're just going to take it to the winner's circle tonight.
I like it. I like that attitude.
Well, one thing to keep in mind, Meg, before you go,
sure.
Portland, I think someone in the chat did point it out. Kingpin, Portland is on a 5-game losing streak, and they've lost 8 of their last 10 games. So they're not in the best of form for sure, which is something to consider, which makes me lean like Lillard is going to play. But another point is that these two teams are actually going to play each other tomorrow night as well.
Oh, okay.
So whether or not maybe either team, like maybe Christian Wood sits tonight and plays tomorrow, or Damian Lillard sits tonight and plays tomorrow, or reverse. Like, we don't know, but that's just something to keep in mind. They're kind of in a weird scenario where, like they're playing tonight and then they play exactly in the same spot again tomorrow night. So just something to keep in mind for sure.
Okay. I'm going to get to some questions now, and then we can go to the plays of the day. There's just a couple. If there are more questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat now. I believe this was about the two Pacers. Could you take both Neesmith and Jackson and get 2 spend ups? Your take on that, Glock?
Yeah, I think that's actually going to be a common route. So
right.
jamming in your, it's going to be like last night, right? Jam in your Indiana value and then pick your favorite studs. And right now it looks like Tatum is coming with the most ownership stud wise, which would make me try to lean into more like Luka and Embiid builds. Surely I don't think Lillard is going to be one of the higher owned studs either. So I can't blame you if you want to do like a Luka Lillard and then jam in your Indiana value as well. But obviously you're going to have to realize Joel Embiid and Jason Tatum, they're going to rate really well. One, Joel Embiid just position in the matchup. Utah just sucks against bigs. And then Jason Tatum, no Jaylen Brown against a Charlotte team that, has no emphasis on defense. So just something to keep in mind. I think it's going to be a common route, double stud value, fill it out basically is the route tonight.
Sure. And Gary, for you, if you're, using the Indiana value double stud, is it Luka, and who would be your second stud you'd prioritize?
I'm flip-flopping now, but I mean, I think it's going to be Harden for me. I just like the price discount.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier. Yeah, okay.
He's been putting 55 to 60 DraftKings points up, and he's 1,000 cheaper, 900 cheaper than Embiid. So, and there's going to be an ownership discount on him versus Embiid too. So I think it's Luka and Harden for me right now.
Okay. All right, guys, we're at our favorite part of the show. Do we have enough? I'll let you guys decide. Did we get enough likes in this episode for our plays of the day, or your guys' plays of the day? Because I don't.
What are we at, Gary? 78?
We're at 80.
I mean, it's Saturday. It's NFL, NBA. We're all, we're all multitasking here. So I say we give it to him. I'm feeling, CMC has me in a good mood so far.
I like it. All
right. So I'm going to go to you first, Gary. Let me hear, who is your groundhog play of the day?
So, I mean, you probably already know who it is. It's the pivot off of Joel Embiid for me tonight. I'm going to go with James Harden as my groundhog play of the day.
Okay. I like it. And we're going over to you, Glock. Got these awesome graphics. Who is your Glocked and Loaded play of the day?
Yeah, so I kind of talked him up earlier in the show. Toronto has been struggling against big men as of late, and he's coming with under 10% ownership, it looks like. So I'm going to roll with Onyeka Okongwu as my play of the day. I'm just going to rattle it off again. Mason Plumlee, 16-15, 21-7. Nurkic, 14-18. Mitch Robb, 10-18. Brooke Lopez, 9-19. Miles Turner, 18-10. Those are the last 6 centers who faced Toronto, and I think Okongwu is going to just keep it rolling here. Easy double-double. I don't know what the prop is for him on that, but something that I would be interested in if I lived in a legal betting state for props. So just something to look into.
Okay. All right, Gary, before we get out of here, any final thoughts?
No, I mean, I think we're just all going to be jamming in these Pacers value guys and getting different with our studs. I mean, I think that's the path for tonight. And yeah, I think that's what it was last night. I mean, I feel like we, Glock and I and Bobby, we all talk about in our playbook chat, like we have these slates where we just have infinite value for like a week and a half, and you gotta get the value guys right. I think the indie guys are it. I mean, I think you can play 3 or 4 of them comfortably in your lineup and get different with your studs. So definitely looking forward to it. Definitely looking to getting off here and watching some football.
That's right.
Tomorrow and Monday night as well. So
that's right. Six playoff games here to sweat out. I like it. But before we get into our NFL mindset and then, lock in our NBA lineups, any final thoughts for you, Glock, on this NBA slate?
Nothing much. I mean, that was really fun breaking it down with all of you guys. I will say, if you are not a member yet at Run Pure, sign up with our codes, Meg 15, Gary 15, Glock 15. Just use any of our codes if you sign up, and you can shoot me a DM. I'll help walk you through Run Pure and how to use our tools. I know kind of when you're a new member, it can be a lot to handle. So if you're not a member yet, shoot me a DM, send me proof that you use one of our 3 codes, and I'll personally walk you through, what everything is, what the playbook is, what the core play is, cash player pool, heat maps, flow chart, team matchups, projections, everything. That's just something I wanted to throw in before we hop off. So touchdown Seahawks, actually. Wow.
DK Metcalf, long bomb.
Wow. So game break. So we have DK Metcalf, long bomb. And so what is the score now?
14-13. Seahawks are up.
Ooh, okay. I need those 49ers to come through. A lot of 49ers.
A lot of San Francisco exposure.
A lot of San Francisco exposure. But I realize this is an NBA show. So enjoy if you're going to watch the NFL playoffs. But, as you're locking your NBA lineups, if you're a Runs Pure subscriber, of course, get in the Discord, for last minute news, get in and check out those core plays. And thank you guys so much for joining us today. So let's see if I can get us out of here. For Gary, for Glock, I'm Meg. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Good luck in your contest.